Hey, what's up, everybody? Jason High back here with another video. It's been a little while since I talked to you guys, kind of getting a new studio set up here so I can start getting these videos out, pumping them out a little bit more frequently, and yeah, going to react to some Kansas City sports that's been going on lately. So I'm going to talk about the Kansas City Royals a little bit today. As most of you have probably seen, the Royals have continued their winning ways. They are up to 13-7 last night after beating the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore Orioles are a really good team. They finished in the top spot in the American League last year, lost early in the playoffs, but they were a great regular season team. A lot of people think they have a chance to win the World Series this year, and so I think last night for me, watching that game a little bit, it really kind of flipped a switch for me just a bit. So I've kind of been for this season thus far, and it is still very close, a very short start to the season. I mean, we're not very far into the year at all. The Royals have only played 20 games, so we're only a hair over 10% of the way through the Major League Baseball season, so there's still a long ways to go. But thus far, I've really kind of been just very cautious about this team. I've seen Royals teams get off to good starts before. It's a lot more fun when they get off to a good start than it is when they get off to a terrible start, which has also happened a lot. But it's really exciting to see them get off to this nice start at 13-7. So you feel really good about that. The Royals have won 9 consecutive games at home now, so that's great. You feel really good about that as well. It's always nice to see them win games at home. But I've kind of been a little bit apprehensive to really buy into this team this year because of how bad it's been, right? I mean, we've all been here as Royals fans these last few years, and the Royals last year, they only won 50 games, 55 games. They had the worst record in the major leagues last year, right? So it's very unusual for a team to have that poor of a record one year and to have that much of a bounce back the next year to get to a level that Kansas Cityans as a whole have really started to expect from their sports teams, thank you to the Chiefs, in terms of making the playoffs, competing for championships, having a shot at really winning it. And I'm not telling you right now that I think the Royals are a World Series team or that I think that they're one of the best teams in baseball. I'm not there yet. I'm just not, and it's going to take a long time for me to get there because we're just, as I said earlier, we're just not that far the way through the season. A lot of you are huge football fans as well. I talk about the Chiefs a lot here on this channel and the Mizzou Tigers. Let's just make a quick analogy when it comes to football, right? So there's 17 regular season games in an NFL season, okay? There are 162 games in a Major League Baseball season. So right now, the Royals have only completed 20 games out of 162. That's equivalent to them playing one full NFL game and about less than a half of game number 2 if they were playing an NFL season's worth of games. So it's just good to keep in mind that, if your football team had won the first game, they were 1-0, and then they were leading in the second quarter of game number 2, you feel good about that, you're excited about it, okay, that's a good start, you're happy about it, but it by no means that you are going to the playoffs. It does not mean you are a division champ. It does not mean you're one of the best teams in the league yet. That being said, where the Royals currently sit right now, they are third in the American League in record. They're only one win behind the Yankees. They're only one win behind the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians are, of course, in the AL Central with the Royals, and so that's the team you're really going to be competing against. The White Sox have had a terrible start of it. They only have 3 wins right now. The Twins and Tigers really are not doing that great either. They're both kind of just treading water. The Twins really have not had a good start either to the season. So you really look at the division right now, and you think, okay, the Royals have a shot. That's really what you're saying right now. I read a really good article on Royals Review earlier this week talking about that, how the Royals do have a shot at the AL Central. Their fan graphs, which I don't know how much you all follow that. That's more for kind of baseball stat nerds and whatnot like myself. Fan graphs is a page that has a playoff projection that they put out in terms of percentages. They put it out every day, and they have the Royals playoff odds up to 50% right now, which I think is really pretty amazing, honestly. I mean, for it to be during a Major League regular baseball season and the Royals have a percent chance to make the postseason of 50% or higher, that really just doesn't happen very often. So, anyways, all of this is just to say that my opinion last night shifted a little bit about the Royals, in that I do think that this Royals team has a shot at being a 500 team, or a better team than that, maybe. If you can win 80 games in Major League Baseball, you're a decent team. There's 162 games. If you can get to that 80, 81, 82, 83 win mark, that means that you were able to pretty much tread water all season. That means that you obviously won more games, or as many games as you lost. And that would be a tremendous accomplishment and a tremendous step forward for this team and for this organization. And so before last night, I kind of felt like, okay, you just still got to see what happens. Yes, it's great this team had a 7-game winning streak, but I've seen these teams just as quickly turn their season around and have 7, 8, 11-game losing streaks like they did back in 2021. That team was above 500 in early June, by the way, and that team ended with 74 wins. So it's just good and important to keep history in context here whenever you're talking about what the Royals are currently doing and what you hope that they will be doing throughout the rest of a very much, and like I said, still nearly 90% to go of a Major League Baseball season. But all of that is to say, I think the Royals have proven they have good pitching. Obviously, Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha have been fantastic additions to the team. The Royals right now currently are third in the American League in ERA, earned runs allowed. That is, for those of you who aren't huge stat people, ERA is the stat to measure a pitcher's performance. And how many runs did you give up? It's not perfect. They have more kind of in-depth stats like WHIP, which is walks and hits per innings pitched. I actually really like that stat a lot because runs can be a little bit random. They can be a little bit lucky/unlucky in terms of when you gave them up, but how many runners are pitchers letting on base? So for those of you out there, I highly encourage you to follow WHIP as a stat. If you're looking at how a pitcher is performing, that's a really good one to watch. It basically just says how many base runners does he allow per innings pitched, and that's what I want to know. Because I don't like stressful innings either, right? Innings that are low stress are also really nice. A guy that doesn't give up a run in an inning, but hit the first 2 batters and then walked a guy and just got lucky and grounded a ball into a double play. Okay, yeah, you got out of it, and you definitely get credit for that. You definitely get credit for pitching well with runners in scoring position. But at the same time, WHIP is going to give you a little bit of a better indicator about how a pitcher is going to perform over the long haul. So anyways, the Royals are performing fantastically in WHIP. They're third in WHIP right now in the American League as well. So I don't feel like the pitching is a mirage. I feel like the pitching is good. I will say this. I do think that their pitching depth is still a little bit thin. They've obviously got Jordan Lyles in the bullpen. He's probably going to be the guy, knock on wood. I don't want there to be any injuries, but in Major League Baseball, injuries do tend to happen. You do tend to lose pitchers or players for a long period of time. We had a little bit of a scare last week with Salvi. Fantastic to see him back. I'm really glad that groin strain was not more serious, and he came back 2 days later. Awesome. That was really great to see. Because, injuries are going to happen, and so you look at the organizational depth that the Royals have kind of behind them and in the minor leagues. There's really not any top-name prospects coming from the pitching side or hitting side of it. So you really feel like this is kind of the team that they've got. And in my opinion, they have got until July to prove to Royals ownership, Royals brass, Royals management that they may actually, for the first time since 2017, be in the market to go add a player at the deadline versus trade away your current players. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out, but just something to keep in mind. Michael Wacha, he did sign a multi-year contract for the Royals this past offseason, and he's been very good this year. His ERA right now is in the mid-threes. Very, very good. You'll definitely take that. That being said, his contract does have an opt-out after this season, and if he continues to pitch well into June and July, and the Royals maybe fall out of it and they're not in the race anymore, I think the Royals may end up actually trading Wacha rather than letting him walk this offseason for nothing. But we're not going to talk about that right now because the Royals right now are winning games. And right now, I just want to see this team do it for another month or two. Can they continue to do it? I'm going to do some more videos before then. I'm going to react to the games as we go along. I like to talk about it pretty much after each series, or at least every couple of series. I want to kind of give you guys my thoughts and updates because the Major League Baseball season is so fluid. Things change so quickly. But right now, I was very impressed by what the Royals did to the Orioles last night, scoring 9 runs. The game got close after giving up that grand slam. Will Smith has been struggling out of the bullpen lately again, and maybe he's just done. Maybe he's just washed. He's 34 years old, so it's certainly possible. Pitchers that age, they've obviously start to decline. But maybe this is just a rough patch. You do have some other guys in there. You've got James McArthur, who's been very good. His ERA is 3.72 right now, which is really good. John Schreiber, his ERA is 0, so that's about as good as you can get, although he's only pitched 10 innings, which is still pretty good. But yeah, you really look at the Royals right now and you think, okay, they have the pitching. And notice I haven't even talked about the hitters yet. Well, I'm talking about the pitching the most because pitching in Major League Baseball, when it comes to winning games, is the most important. If you can pitch, if you can hold the other team down, your team is going to have a chance. And thus far, the Royals have had chances. They've played in a lot of close games. They have not been blowing people out for the most part. Last night, they scored 9 runs, which is great. They got a couple blowouts earlier in the season. But for the most part, the Royals have been playing a lot of close games. They beat the White Sox a couple times last week. They won the first game 2-0, next game 2-1. I mean, you're not winning a lot of games if you're going to continue to score few amounts of runs, but if your pitching can keep you in those games, you're going to have chances. So anyways, this is me telling you that I do think that this Royals team does have talent. I do think that Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, Bobby Witt Jr., I think those guys, those 3, if they can keep hitting, Salvador Perez has been great so far. Again, with him, you're always going to be a little worried about the injury bug. He is a catcher. Catchers do have a tendency to miss some time. He's been no different in his career. But that being said, when Salvador Perez has been healthy, he's been a consistently good power hitter for you. And I think he's going to continue to be that. And I think he's proven that thus far with his start this season. So yeah, I'm just looking at the Royals lineup right now. MJ Melendez has been doing pretty well. He did just break an 0-for-23 slump. Last night he hit a 3-run home run. You feel great about that. I mean, if he is going to be the kind of hitter that's maybe a bit streaky, but he can still take a walk every now and then, still get on base, which he can, then you hope that the power is going to be there whenever he does break out of these slumps. So you feel pretty good about him maybe as like a 6th hitter in your lineup. Right now the Royals really don't have a consistent leadoff hitter, which I think is going to continue to be a problem for them throughout the year because I look at their roster and they really just don't have a guy who's obvious that can hit in that leadoff spot. MJ Melendez has done it some last year, and he's a good on-base percentage guy, but he's not really your typical leadoff hitter, and he is prone to slumps, and he's still kind of figuring it out. He was a highly touted prospect. I am very happy the Royals are giving him every opportunity to hit well in the majors because, as you saw last night, the dude can rake. The dude's got some pop in his bat. He can hit. He can hit the ball far, right? So it's just a matter of how consistent is he going to be. And he's really kind of found a spot in left field there, and he's played adequate defense there, which is really good for him. And that's really exciting because if he can do that, it gives the Royals time to really kind of bring his bat around to where he can become a good hitter for you consistently. So I'm looking at the Royals lineup, and again, I still think it's a bit thin. Hitters 5 through 6, you got, Garrett Hampson. I mean, you got Hunter Renfroe. Nelson Velasquez has got, he's got some power. He's got an 817 OPS thus far this year. Obviously, he had 17 home runs last year and less than about a third of a season, a half season. So he can do some stuff. He can hit, but again, he hasn't really been that consistent guy yet for long enough for me to really just say, yep, he can be your number 6 hitter. He can be your number 5 hitter. No questions asked. But thus far, he's hit well. Michael Massey coming back last night went 2 for 4. That's very exciting, seeing him go 2 for 4. Michael Massey was a really, really good prospect. He's hit so well in the minor leagues at second base. He's a good defensive player there. So the Royals did option Nick Lofton back to the minor leagues yesterday to make room for Massey. I think that was the right move. Lofton is still 25 years old. He's still got some time to get better, but Massey is really the more polished hitter in terms of his major league experience because he did play so much last season, and he's got the pedigree as a prospect and good minor league track record. That's what I'm always looking for with guys. Some people thought I was maybe being a little harsh on Alec Marsh early on. Harsh on Alec Marsh, that's funny. But really, it's just because Alec Marsh didn't have the track record in the minor leagues where he wasn't walking guys consistently. So I just need to see more of it from Alec Marsh, Nelson Velasquez, MJ Melendez, Michael Massey. I need to just see more before I'm going to really have a good idea of what this team's going to do. But that being said, right now, I do feel like this is a team that has proven thus far they've got some talent on the pitching side of things. They have some guys that can hit. I think their manager is making good decisions. I really like how he has not stuck with roles just because you feel like sometimes in the past it's something that maybe Royals management would have done. They would have kept a guy out there that's struggling a little bit too long. They would have been a little bit too hesitant to move on from a guy. And Quatraro, I think, has done very well at managing his bullpen roles, moving guys around the lineup if they're not producing, giving guys opportunities, but not too many opportunities, if that makes sense, if they're really not showing the progress you need to see. So I think the Royals have some talent. I think they have a manager that can manage. I think they've got some pitching. I think they've got a chance this year. I think they really have a chance to be a team that can win at least 77, 79, 81, 83 games, somewhere in that range. I think this team can do that. I think they can be a 500 team. They've already built up some equity, right? So they're already 6 games above 500. So obviously if they were to finish at 500 the season, they would have to play 6 games below 500 the rest of the season. So they've got a little bit of a a cushion there. That's what I was trying to say. They've got a little bit of a cushion right there that they can lean into if they have to. But, at some point this team is going to show you who they really are. And I think thus far they've shown you that they can do some things. They can pitch well. I'm excited to see what they can do going forward. That's all for today. Thank you guys. Go Royals. Have a great rest of your weekend.